The Charm of Hobart, drawings by Kenneth, written by Clive, Turnbull, published in 1949. A short book containing many drawings and an essay of skirting information. Many of the details that I might go into are not actually found inside the text. One might be drawn to a book like this because it covers both buildings that are still with us today and also several that have since been demolished. On page 37, Holy Trinity Church of England. Built by the convict architect James Blackburn, an Englishman transported to Van Diemen's Land in 1833 for forgery, was constructed in the Gothic Revival style. The foundation stone was laid in 1841 by Lieutenant Governor John Franklin, and it took 7 years to complete. Built on solid rock, the church is structurally sound today. The interior is in excellent condition and the bells still ring perfectly. The exterior, however, is turning to dust. Among other things, salt spray blown up the hill from the Derwent penetrates the walls, leading it to crust and flake. Where there were 4 fleshes atop the building, there are now 2. Fallen and removed, they have come down, resting in the grass of the church grounds. Turning to page 43, there's a building called Somerset House. The book is in a very large way an ode to Georgian architecture, and Somerset House on Elizabeth Street was one such example, erected in the very early decades of the 1800s. A building comely enough to be painted and included in this book. A building, however, not considered nice enough to not demolish. Where understated elegance once stood, there is now a Hungry Jack's drive-through. Turning to page 54, Chalmers Presbyterian Church. The foundation stone was laid in 1851. The opening was reported in the Hobart Guardian. The work is in modern Gothic style, and according to a very chaste and tasteful design, the building is most creditable both to the architect and the contractor, and will be a great improvement to the city where it stands. In 1952, 101 years after the foundation stone was laid, and 3 years after this book, The Charm of Hobart, was published, the building was sold to the Neptune Oil Company. They demolished it so they could build a petrol station. The petrol station has since closed, and today the site is a Hertz rent-a-car. On page 22, Luckmans Mill is mentioned briefly inside the text. There are no drawings of it, however, as it had been long gone well before the idea of this book had even occurred. James Luckman built the large windmill in late 1834, and in its day the thing was as familiar to the Hobart silhouette as West Point Casino or the Tasman Bridge are today. In 1836, the Hobart Town Courier wrote, "Luckmans Mill is a very handsome round building in which the circular roof and sails balance and adjust themselves to the wind by means of a fan wheel on the opposite side." Despite all this, by the 1870s, the Battery Point landmark had fallen into disrepair, and in 1883, it was sold and demolished. The red bricks recycled into new buildings around Hobart. The exact and various locations of these red bricks are a mystery. Today, there are other buildings where the mill stood, and there are no clues to be seen from the footpath. It's very easy to romanticise the past. This book was published in 1949. When it came out, I'll put you down. Tasmania had only stopped executing people 3 years earlier, and federally, Australia was about 10 years away from allowing Aboriginal people to vote. Hey dog. So it's important to kind of remember that in the context of this book. But at the back here, it has a pertinent passage to end the essay that goes along with all these pictures. It is difficult to forecast the future. Delightful as it would be for those of us who do not live there, it is scarcely possible to preserve Hobart unchanged as a kind of animated museum to illustrate the modes of our fathers. But it would be more regrettable if an increasing industrialisation were to sweep away the stones of the old town for chromium and glass bricks, the jukebox and the fluorescent light. Hobart still keeps her best, there is great responsibility to see that it is preserved.